Hi, I'm Cheryl,
And I'm Mike.
and 2003 was a very tragic year for us. The beginning of 2003 started off with Mike and I finding out that my dad was, he had what was it, MML, which stand for, no, CML, sorry,
Yeah.
chronic myeloid leukemia. So he had a sort of cancer of blood disease with the leukemia. And it sounded all very positive at the beginning. They caught it early and everything else. But my dad ended up having a very bad infection in his foot, and he could never get rid of the infection in his foot. They tried every medication, everything else, but his red counts were going down, his white counts were going up, and he was supposed to be trying a trial study in Princess Margaret, correct?
Correct.
And he never got there. His spleen became very huge. He was in and out of the hospital about 3 times, and the last time he was in, his spleen was so big, but it was actually a blocked bowel he had. And when he came out of that operation, he was in a coma, and my brother and my sister and I had to make the decision to take him off life support. And when we took him off life support, he died within about 30 seconds. So the doctor who was on call, who I actually knew, put his hands on my shoulders and told me that I made the right decision. But at that time, I thought that was the hardest and the worst thing that I could ever go through. I thought about my dad continually for about 3 weeks, and I didn't know you could think so much about a person. Everything, just his whole being just kind of was in me all the time. And then on September 19th, I found out different. September 19th, our daughter Lisa was going to Trent University with her boyfriend just to see what the university was like. Donnie was doing a lap year, and so was in grade 13, but second year of grade 12, and Lisa was going into grade 12. And 17, 18-year-old, they thought they were very much in love, and they wanted to see about university and see if maybe they could go to one together. So they left on the morning of September 19th and got about 20 minutes outside the university. Were on a wrong road, got lost, and they turned right onto this road, and it just started to rain, and somehow Donnie lost control of the car, and it turned around, and propane, we already just had this discussion, a propane service truck?
Yes.
A propane service truck came up and smashed Lisa T-bone, which in turn killed Donnie. I had asked Lisa to give me a phone call either at 1:30 or 3:30 to let me know that she was all right. And 3:30 the phone rang, and I remember saying to my daughter Caitlin, "There's my baby, she's calling just on time." And it was Donnie's mom, Laurel, wondering if I had heard from the 2 kids, because they were also supposed to see her brother,
Brian?
no, Randy.
Randy.
Her brother Randy, who was living in Peterborough, and they had never got there. Then I started to worry, because these were 2 very responsible kids, and when they were supposed to get in touch, they did. And Laurel hadn't heard from them since 10 in the morning, and now it's going 3:45, and you go up to the answer, all I got was Lisa's answer machine all the time. And then at 4:30, a police officer walked up my driveway, and I knew. And I remember walking outside, told Caitlin, my daughter, who was 14 at the time, to go get our next door neighbors, because I knew that we would need some help. She would need some help. And I just went to the police officer, and I'll never forget, and I just said to him, "You can tell me anything, but don't you dare tell me she's dead." And he apologized and told me that she was, and that Donnie also was killed. So that was the worst thing I had ever encountered. Lisa occupies my mind up until this day, but on a more positive note today than it was 13 years ago. After Lisa died, my mom, 3 weeks later, had a heart attack, and she was taken into the hospital. While she was in the hospital, we found out that her diabetes was right out of whack, so they got that under control, did other tests, found out that she had lung cancer. She started the chemotherapy on Friday, and on Saturday they actually had, the people in our neighborhood got together and did a fundraising for Lisa to be able to put a memorial swing set per se at Anchor Park.
Local park.
Yeah, local park, Anchor Park and Holland Landing. And the Saturday is when they got all their stuff together to do silent auctions and stuff. And in the middle of that, we were called away because my mom was not doing very well. And we got there, and she basically said her goodbyes, especially to Caitlin. Remember when she said about loving her to the moon and back and all around and all those things that grandmas say to girls. And she fell into a deep coma and never came out and died Monday morning, November 3rd. So that year, Mike and I lost my dad June 29th, our precious daughter September 19th, and my mom on November 3rd.
And you were all wondering why I haven't said anything. Well, because when the Friday that Lisa passed away was a normal day, I was at work all day. And I didn't find out anything until I got home. So it was a shock. And that's really what it was at that time. It was a shock, and I was in shock.
Let out a powerful scream, I tell you. You know, so it's the sort of thing, because Mike was not there, and he usually went out for a beer with the guys, and it was a matter of trying to find him. And I finally got him on the phone, and I don't know how I got through it, but I just told him we needed him to come home right away. I think you thought the dog had died.
At first.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so he got home, and of course there's a bunch of cars in my driveway, as well as the police car, as well as, oh Keith, you're going to have to help me with this one. What are those names of those people?
Victim services.
Yeah.
Victim services were also there, which I didn't have a clue why they were there until I asked the police officer why these two strangers were in my house. And he basically said, they're just here to watch you, but they were basically there to make sure that Mike and I didn't commit suicide. I'm quite convinced now, because they followed us everywhere. That night we went to the Peterborough Hospital to see Lisa, and we had them there too, but two different people.
Yep.
And it was kind of hard to get away from them. But you continue.
Yeah. So, anyway, yes, it, as Cheryl said, it certainly turned out to be the worst day of our lives ever. So, I guess the rest of it now is how do you get beyond that and try to get back to a somewhat normal life? Somewhat.